Hi everyone, Sandy Grove, registered nurse here again with Health Tracks at Home. This is Stress Awareness Month. Now, it's not like we haven't been living under stress for the last year, but things have changed. Over the last year, we've talked a lot about COVID-related stress issues related to masks, related hand washing, related to social distancing, everything. And I have included a stress reliever tip every week when we're talking. However, as with all pandemics, there is a community mindset change in many areas that needs to be addressed as we return from a COVID stress syndrome disorder world to going back and getting back to a somewhat normal society. There are things that have changed in all of us, and we need to address those. And this is nothing new. It's been around for many, many years, but the syndrome is new. So as always, I get my information from reliable sources. And as I hope that this will help you today. And if you have any questions, please contact your healthcare provider and they will clarify if anything is confusing to you. So how do we keep that stress in check and how do we improve our memory? Because this is what gets affected by stress. And we all want to make sure that we are as healthy and happy as possible for our whole life. I am going to talk about brain plasticity at some point in time, which is very encouraging to all of you. And I'm looking forward to talking about that. I've been doing some research on it and was asked to bring it up. So we will talk about it later. But today we're going to talk about COVID stress syndrome. And I've gotten most of my information from the helpguide.org or from ncbi.nlm, which I have gotten a lot of information from in the past. So as we have been talking about for an entire year, stress is one of the brain's worst enemies. It takes years off of our life and off of our memories. Over time, chronic stress destroys the brain cells and damages the hippocampus, the region of the brain that is involved with the formation of new memories and the retrieval of old ones. So studies have linked stress to memory loss. And we know that chronic stress affects our health in other ways. It can cause physical illnesses. It can cause aches and pains and nausea and dizziness and all kinds of stress-related things that we don't even know are related to stress. It can cause our immune system to be compromised. We know that as well. So we talked a lot about diet over this last year as well. So we've studied many things and we've talked about many things. And the most important thing is you may be saying to yourself, oh, I have no stress. I'm so glad that everything's getting better and I have no stress. However, all of the researchers and all the physicians out there in the world say that when a pandemic hit, it affects every single person in the world. So we are all affected by stress in one way or another, either by the doubt it causes or the fear it causes. If you're not fearful, somewhere inside of you got some doubt about what's really going on. So researchers now are concerned about the long-term effects of the pandemic. The stress that sometimes unknowingly creeps in and affects our physical health, our mental health, and our ability to communicate and survive in the world. So these are the core elements that they look at. The fear of a COVID infection, fear of coming into contact with surfaces that may have the virus on it that are contaminated with coronavirus, fear of socioeconomic impacts of the pandemic, afraid you're going to lose your job again and again and again. Fear of foreigners for fear that they are infected and have brought it from another country or even another state. Pandemic-related compulsive checking and reassurance seeking, calling the doctors more. There have been more telehealth and telephone calls to physicians over the last year than usual. It is quite a bit more, probably has doubled, I would imagine. Also, pandemic-related traumatic stress symptoms. You can get PTSD from a pandemic. So a severe form of the syndrome is characterized by someone who loses the ability to function in this world. They're impaired to even go outside of the house. That is called COVID stress disorder. This can affect people that have a little bit of anxiety to those that have a history of health-related anxiety or already have PTSD or maybe are bipolar. It affects them much differently. We have more alcohol problems. We have more drug problems. People are trying to comfort themselves. So physicians and researchers feel that the symptoms have to be addressed, and we need to form a plan for these long-term pandemics that have happened over time. This is the first time that this has affected us for a long period of time. So new diagnoses, new ICD-9 codes, new ways of dealing with this disorder and any long-term effects from coronavirus if you had it. So we want to remember there have been things in our lives that have affected all of us. Remember the stock market crash if you were alive during that time. What about polio or AIDS or Ebola? These all caused a lot of fear and changed our lives. We were anxious, and there was this doubt of safety, and that is what we've been experiencing this year. It's long been observed that widespread outbreaks of infectious diseases, such as the pandemics, lead to a widespread outbreak of fear. For example, during the Spanish flu, there was flu phobia. During Ebola outbreak in West Africa in 2014, we had one case in the United States, and there was fear Ebola. Everybody was afraid it was coming here. Other infectious diseases, such as Zika and swine flu and avian flu, all described high forms of anxiety related to those. Similarly, during the early months of COVID, researchers noted that coronavirus anxiety, called coronaphobia, developed. All of these forms of virus-related phobias can cause intrusive thoughts, fears, nightmares, fear of going outside, fear of mortality, and just plain doubt to even go to the supermarket. We will dissect each of these learned disruptive stress habits and how to go forward for a safer and a fear-free world. Remember, we're all affected one way or another, so I hope that I can encourage you to help others so that we can come out of this. I mean, there are so many things that we've had to deal with, and right now it's how you dealing with the concept of the vaccine. So there's a lot of people that are having anxiety related to that. As a review, tips for managing stress are very simple. Exercise, eat right, boost your immune system, set realistic expectations, don't do too much. Take breaks throughout the day, express your feelings, any feelings to a friend. You need a COVID buddy to help you through this. Set a healthy balance between work and leisure time. Focus on one task at a time. Don't multitask. You got enough stress up there already. You don't need any more. Breathe, sit and breathe twice a day. And then tap into your senses. Last week, we tapped into what we see and how that can calm us down, the idea of colors, etc. So this week, our stress reliever tip is to tap into our smell. Light a scented candle to help you relax. Experiment with different essential oils or lotions that you like the smell of. Smell a rose. It's rose season. Mine are starting to bloom, or some other type of flower. Excuse me. Enjoy clean, fresh air. Spritz on your favorite perfume. If you haven't worn perfume during COVID, this is a good time to put it on because it will help you to relax. It's familiar. So you want to put those things that are familiar back into your life. That's a stress tip for this week. So COVID, what's new with COVID this week? Wouldn't it be nice when we don't have to say what is the COVID update for this week? So good news, our case rate is down to 4.9 if you already don't know that, and our positivity rate is only 2.1. Today, April 1st, vaccines are open to all 50 years and older, and on April 15, it'll be open for everyone from 16 and above. We just got to get those vaccines here in San Diego County. And so you're going to hear more and more people are getting their vaccines. Exercise tip of this week, we've been talking about those tiny habits that you can add on to something else. How are you doing with that? Have you thought about new creative ways to relieve your stress? Make one small change this week that increases your physical activity. Try a walk for 10 minutes instead of watching the news, if that's not a normal time that you walk. Have those power cards that we talked about last week written out and stuck next to your bed. How are you doing on your health care? And include your stress management in that. I have an alarm on my phone about stress, and it says decrease stress, decrease weight. And I'm supposed to take 15 minutes and breathe and just stop everything, which is hard for one who does. And it really is helpful. And I'm about 50% good about doing it half of the time. So try some of those techniques to keep you on your health goals. Memory preservation tip of the week, our last mnemonic, is the method of loci. Imagine placing the items that you want to remember. So you're going to go to the supermarket, let's say, and you don't want to forget your list or you've lost your list. Example, for the shopping list, imagine bananas in the entryway of your home, a puddle of milk in the middle of your couch, eggs going up the stairs, and bread in your bed. Heaven forbid that's what it looks like, but that will help you to remember those things. So that is the method of loci. You're locating something, and it helps us to trigger. That's what I needed to add to my list. Nutrition tip of the week is choosing those lean meats we talked about last week. Which is best, grass or grain? Grass-fed is best. So cows that are allowed to forage and graze for their own fresh food, as they have throughout time. Unlike grain-fed animals, the emphasis is still on providing the closest thing to a natural diet as possible, so grass-fed. Nutritional differences between the two. Both grain and grass-fed are nutritious and contain vitamins. However, grass-fed beef has higher forms of vitamin A and vitamin E, and grass-fed, this is wonderful, grass-fed beef may contain up to 5 times as much omega-3 fatty acids as grain-fed. That's worth paying a little extra money to get the good beef because you're not eating beef very often, right? So when you have it once in a while, get a nice, good grass-fed piece of beef. It tastes better too. So as always, I get my information from reliable sources. If you have any questions, please contact your healthcare provider and they will help clarify. Remain safe, keep those masks on, keep social distancing, stay out of crowds, even though Padre season is open. Make sure you keep your distance, even if you have been vaccinated, until we get herd immunity. And may God bless you and keep you safe. Till next time. Bye-bye.